Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It's earlier in the week than you're used to catching us. The schedule is a little bit different with the holidays kicking off. Denny, Kyle, and I will preview the entire Week 12 slate on Tuesday afternoon, hopefully live Tuesday evening, early Wednesday morning for wherever you're traveling in these United States. But today, Denny and I will get to a big week of injury news. Cooper Kupp hurt. Devin Achane hurt again. Kenneth Walker hurt. Some other Aaron Jones is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good news out there. Calvin Ridley has finally been saved. He's broken out. The Bills had a good first performance with new offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Justin Fields has a successful Week 11 return. Of course, it resulted in a loss. That goes without saying.
That goes without saying.
Yeah. We also will preview, maybe not in quite as thorough a form as we do on the preview show. We're going to preview this week's Thanksgiving Thursday slate. Gives you a head start on that with the Packers at the Lions, the Commanders at the Cowboys, whatever that team is called now. The Commanders is what they're called. And the 49ers at the Seahawks. First, Denny, do a little Week 11 reflection, something before the games that you could not help but notice on one of the pregame broadcasts of one of our chief competitors here at NBC. What did you see, Denny?
Well, your Monday column on NBC Sports reminded me of this weird spectacle on the Fox pregame show, which I don't know why I was watching. I should have been watching Peacock at the time, but
you should have.
It happened to be on. I'll blame the kids. And I was transfixed by a site that I believe I've seen before.
You have, and I'll explain how in a minute.
Which you're right. I'm looking forward to, which is Jerry Jones talking face to face, very close with Jimmy Johnson,
uncomfortably close. That's how they used to do it back in the 50s, though.
And inducting him into the Ring of Fame, the Cowboys Ring of Fame,
Ring of Honor.
And I feel like I've seen this before. You're going to get to that in a second, but mostly what I couldn't stop looking at was Jerry really getting sappy, being like, "Oh, you've coached our only good team for the past 40 years. Thank you for doing that."
Come on, man. Tom Landry, I think, had a good team in the past 40 years, maybe.
No. Do you know how 40 years ago was 82?
Yeah, 83. But it was I guess that was the end times for the Tom Landry era. Yeah, they never won.
They've had one good run for 40 years.
That's a bit strong. I mean, come on, they beat Jason Garrett won a playoff game that one time.
Yeah, our NBC colleague. That's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, the camera's really focusing in on Jimmy. I mean, this thing is zooming in very slowly, I should say, very slowly, but it's getting up in his pores. Okay, like that Yankees pitcher. Who was that Yankees pitcher who they used to focus right in on his pores? Lefty Pettit.
Oh, Andy Pettit. Yeah.
Andy Pettit. You used to every World Series game in the 90s, you had to look at Andy Pettit's pores for 2.5 hours, and this is what was happening to Jimmy Johnson, and the camera was desperate for him to cry. They just wanted him to break down so badly and just start weeping, and Jimmy Johnson was having none of that. I think primarily, Pat, because no two men hate each other more than Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones.
No, they still hate each other. And Jerry Jones still loves himself, though, of course, more than anyone on planet Earth. So he thought, I'll turn on the charm. I can't do a Jerry Jones at all. He thought he would turn on the charm and make Jimmy cry there on the Fox network, in his home. The Fox network is Jimmy Johnson's home. And Jerry Jones I'm going to get him to cry in his own house. And Jimmy steadfastly refused.
Yeah.
And I was watching it. I was like, man, I feel like Fox does this like once a year. And it's because they also did it last year when Jimmy Johnson was inducted into the real Hall of Fame. It's like the Cowboys Ring of Honor. I mean, who cares? It's like your name or a stadium for all time. It's not really that big of a deal. It actually is a big deal. But they now Fox, for whatever reason, it's in Jimmy Johnson's contract that once a year they have to try to make him cry on the pregame show. And so next year, we were Kevin Burkhardt, one of our primary game callers. He's not usually in the studio. But Kevin, you're a special guest here today. You got some really special news for Jimmy Johnson. And what people who don't watch baseball might not know is that Kevin Burkhardt hosts the Fox baseball pregame. And next year he's going to inform Jimmy Johnson he's been inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And because he played high school baseball. And they get the special waiver from Cooperstown to induct Jimmy Johnson. You don't understand. We got to try to make him cry. Fox. And I'm not sure if that rip was worth it, but
Kevin, get this guy to cry.
Yeah, increasingly escalating scenarios trying to get Jimmy Johnson to cry, and he will not do it.
My main question would be, why did it take 30 years to get Jimmy Johnson into the Ring of Honor?
Because of true despisement, which is not a word, but it's the fact that they just absolutely hate each other and always will. I mean, not enough people hate each other these days.
Oh yeah,
everyone like all we do is subtweet now.
Right.
It used to be like face-to-face rage, or so. Yeah, I hate the guy, and they're trying to bring that back.
I saw the North Carolina basketball coach get up in the Duke coach's face, or was it the other way around?
When was that? I don't know.
This weekend?
They didn't already play.
Two prominent basketball teams got in each other. The coaches got in each other's faces, and I was like, "Yes, we need more of that."
That wasn't UNC Duke. I think that was like two Big East teams, like St. John's or something.
How do you know the difference?
I don't know. We digress. We better get started with our actual show. Okay. Very, very bad. Jimmy Johnson will never cry, and that's fine. Not everyone has to cry. I mean, I know that Denny. This is actually the first Rotoworld football show we've ever begun without you crying. It's a big deal.
It's always been edited out, and I think producer Adam, I thank you for that.
He does a hell of a job doing that. Rams fans might be crying at Denny Carter. Cooper Kupp is injured again. Another right ankle injury. You may remember that from such right ankle injuries as Cooper Kupp last year when he required surgery. And so that's a Simpsons joke. That was a Simpsons joke for anyone who does not know. Troy McClure joke, but Cooper Kupp ankle hurt again. I don't know, what is he? He's like day to day. He could be week to week. We don't really know, but he's on that Michael Thomas career trajectory where he has an historic season and then it's like essentially never plays again.
Yeah.
What do we tell people about Cooper Kupp for the stretch run? Because he withstood the first Puka Nacua charge, but now with the second injury he's had this year, I think even if he plays week 12, like the old Cooper Kupp is officially gone. Do you agree with that take? What do you think?
Yeah, well, we should note that the team has come out to say that unlike the rent and unlike the safeties, this ankle sprain is very low.
Oh, good. Yeah, what a surprise.
Okay,
they've observed it in Australia because, of course, it's going through the entire earth. And just like, you dig a hole in your backyard and come out the other side. That's what they've done with the
It's actually a bottom of foot injury, technically. Wow. It's so low. You've never quite seen a sprain. And of course, it's not low. Of course, it's going to be high, and he's going to miss multiple weeks. And yeah, I don't think that he's going to play this coming week. It's great for Puka, even though Matthew Stafford is in what'd you call it? Terminal decline.
Terminal decline. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be funny, but just his career is
no. It's accurate. It's accurate. And so we have, but we do have a new entrant into the target share for the Rams, which is a guy named Austin Trammell.
Who's can you tell who anybody following this?
Yeah,
Austin Trammell.
He's 25.
Sorry.
He's played in 8 games over 2 seasons with the Falcons and the Rams, mostly on special teams. He saw action in 6 games with the Rams in 2022 and recorded 13 yards on 2 receptions. And then yesterday, folks, again, Austin Trammell was targeted on 6 of his 20 routes versus the Seahawks. That's really strong. Played 66% from the slot. His ADOT was 4.6. So, folks, we have a scam.
We do have a scam.
We have a little scam on our hands, and I'm into it, honestly.
Ben Skowronek down, absolutely horrific. It was like there's just some guy now, because Ben Skowronek was some guy for like 2 years, and it turns out every time they targeted him, he would commit a game-changing drop or turnover. So they moved on to the next totally random guy.
It was actually, I will say, just as an aside, when Ben Skowronek would make a non-catastrophic play, it was actually stunning.
It was very noteworthy.
No way.
Yeah, it was very, very noteworthy when Ben Skowronek would not totally ruin the game. But what are we even doing with? I just don't know what to tell people. Cooper Kupp, I think he'll come back in a game or two. He'll be a high end wide receiver 2 who still pops up for wide receiver 1 days. Does that seem fair? I just feel like you can't call him like a top 8 wide receiver 1 anymore. You probably can't call him a top 12 wide receiver 1 anymore. Receivers looked very deep in recent weeks. Now already 2 teams are playing. It seems like that ghost is given, and that the re-injury risk is just becoming too acute. Does that seem accurate? Puka Nacua every week, wide receiver 1. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're onto something there with Nacua as a wide receiver 1. I guess, I mean, if Kupp is in there, he's still going to see targets and in a pretty pass heavy offense. So I guess he has that going for him. But
can Matthew Stafford still even support 2 wide
right,
receiver 1s?
Right. So that's the question. That really is the question hanging over this whole situation is, can Stafford, who again is at the bottom of the NFL in completion rate over expected. Okay. Rams fans don't want to hear. I learned that yesterday. They don't want to hear that. But it's true, and he demonstrated his lack of accuracy when he missed Darrell Henderson for a wide open touchdown against the Seahawks. One of the worst throws you'll see this season. So yeah, I mean, Kupp has very little chance to achieve a ceiling outcome going forward. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, man, the receivers are too damn open now for Matthew Stafford. Well, these Zoomer receivers are just always wide open. What am I supposed to do? Stafford has completed 17 or fewer passes in 4 straight games. He's completed under 60% of his throws in 3 straight games. He's won multi-score effort all year. He has 9 touchdowns, 8 picks. It's just not like, I don't really think he can support, even if it's like the world's narrowest target tree, which it always has been. Someone is not going to be in the top 12 anymore on any given basis, and just feel like I'm going to feel more comfortable betting on Puka Nacua, who stayed pretty healthy all year, than Cooper Kupp. And at least the first week Kupp is back. Even if that's week 12, I'm going to rank Nacua ahead of Cooper Kupp, Denny.
All right. Well, look, I just said pass heavy. That's actually not the case. I actually had mentioned last week that the Rams had gotten balanced or even run heavy since week 6 against the Seahawks in week 11. They were 12% under their expected dropback rate, which is really, really run heavy.
And that was without a real running back. Kyron Williams might be returning for week 12. So that's one of those situations. Keep it locked to rotoworld.com to see what the deal is with Kyron Williams, because it kind of seems like he will be back to play the Cardinals on Sunday afternoon. So Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson could be out of our lives just as soon as they were in it. And we're going to be briefly out of your life. We have to take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Give a fantasy sports fan on your list the Rotoworld Draft Guide bundle and take advantage of our biggest Black Friday deal ever. Buy today and receive the 2024 baseball, football, and basketball draft guides for one low price. Use promo code BF2023 at checkout to receive 25% off and receive a $10 Fanatics e-gift card. Buy today at NBCSports.com/holiday bundle. Dan, like I said, I feel like, so I'm going to just go off on a tangent for no reason here.
Sure.
That injuries have been in decline in the NFL for several years running, not at quarterback this year. Pretty strange outlier at quarterback this year where like 10 or 11 starting quarterbacks have been hurt. Quarterback carnage. I feel like receiver and running back injuries have been on the decline. Totally anecdotal. I'm sure there are people doing empirical studies on it, of course, but that was me leading into it. It seemed like a lot of people were hurt this week. And what you've been in the blurb game, the coverage game for a while. What is your sense on injuries? Have you noticed a change at all? More, fewer, or is this all in my mind?
Well, I mean, I think fewer really bad injuries for receivers and running backs this season seems like, and then every injury to a quarterback seems to be like either season ending or close to it. We're not really getting the nicks and bruises that I think we're used to at the quarterback position. I don't really know the explanation for that. I mean, the league has done everything it can to protect the quarterback position, except for put, flags on the sides of their jerseys to tear off.
Just do the rant. Do the whole rant.
No. Look, I'm for it. No, you don't understand.
I know.
I'm for it. No, I would like to live in a world where you can't actually touch the quarterback.
So I know you're watching the games with your dad's. Kill him.
Yeah.
Come on. Break him in half. It used to be legal. And then they would come back in the second half and play.
Yep.
Like, well, Dad, you just said they killed them. And then they would still play in the second half. Yeah, it was the 80s. Come on.
Yeah, they reanimated.
Yeah, they respawned. Come on, the Zoomers say they respawned.
No, sorry.
Anyway, I don't know. Anyways, that's very unnecessary lead into our Devin Achane talk where one carry, 2 touches, and he re-injures the knee. This happens so often. It's absolutely insane. And where do the Dolphins go from here? They're claiming, just like Cooper Kupp, it's a very minor injury. they're basically saying it's purely precautionary. He wanted to come back into the game. He did spend the rest of the game standing on the sidelines. Of course, this being the NFL, they have a quick turnaround. We don't have a Black Friday game for some reason. We also have a day named totally for retail. We'll get into that later, though, Denny. No, we won't actually. Maybe you will on the Bad Faith Times. But yeah, Devin Achane. What are we going to rank this? We're not going to rank him as an RB1 the next time he comes back, right? And do you think he's going to play in Week 12 against?
Well, you mentioned in your column today that Achane strikes you and me as well as a guy who requires absolutely perfect conditions to succeed, and that means no nicks or bruises, a good matchup, nobody hitting him at all ever. Wow. And when he doesn't get that, you know what you get. I'm a little surprised. It seemed like the Dolphins were being careful with Achane. I'm not blaming the team, but it is surprising to see a guy have to leave after 2 touches. After being out for 6 weeks. 5 weeks?
I think it was only the minimum 4 weeks, but it was over a month because their bye week was in there.
Yeah. And I was surprised at how ineffective Raheem Mostert was after that. As someone who played a lot of Raheem Mostert in DFS, I was very surprised, in fact, because man, it doesn't get better than a matchup against the Raiders as far as the rushing game goes. I'm not sure if he's falling off. He's a little bit older, whatever, but that Dolphins rushing attack is down pretty bad right now.
Yeah, Mostert, I've been beating this hobby horse for a while. I don't think that's actually a phrase at all, but it seems like the second year in a row, he's just wearing down, or he's not meant for these kind of workloads. And in his more veteran state, he has figured out how to stay on the field, at least Raheem Mostert, but this seems like someone who cannot withstand these kind of workloads. The Dolphins basically have no choice but to heap on him. I have several tangents real quick. The Raiders and their defense, by the way, I think the Antonio Pierce bump just seems to be real, and it seems like it's totally vibes based somehow, but that he's just completely transformed this team, and they actually want to play football again. They're in every game. They've had a soft schedule heading into Week 11, but then Dolphins turnovers had something to do with it. But the defense had to force those turnovers, and it basically were the first team to not get annihilated by Miami at home this year.
That's right.
So the Raiders are a much improved team. Yeah, my point on Achane is he's a tiny speed back. He seems like a running back in a position where you have to get used to playing injured, like you said. It's just part of the game. You're always going to have like a deep bruise. You're always going to have some strain. You're never going to be anywhere near 100%. His skill set just seems like one where if he loses even 5% of his speed or explosiveness, he's not going to be the guy the Dolphins need him to be. I just feel like the Dolphins constructed an amazing injuries off offense, but that the rushing attack just feels like too elaborate. And that they need too many things to go right. Mm-hmm. And when it went right, it was awe-inspiring. But
that's a good yes. Actually, it is an injuries off offense. You're right. It's a Ferrari offense, and I think it costs like $3,000 to get your oil changed in a Ferrari.
It does. So. Yeah. I know from experience. That's why I said that. Yeah. By the way, I had to get new tires last week. Holy Lord, this country.
Oh my goodness.
A little cheaper.
Every time I have to get tires, I'm like, wait. So you're telling me that people just pay this?
Yeah, I know. It was really weird that when I had to get tires, I didn't know this was a normal part of the process. I Googled it, and it is though. They actually had to accompany me to my safe deposit box. Where I took out just tens of thousands of dollars in bonds that I insured and just paid for my tires. Now, these tires are 3 times the sticker price of this car.
Right.
This is how I don't know, man. So I just work here, man.
It's crazy. I'm always stunned. I'm like, so people come in here and they just give you this money, new tires.
So, tires could be a little cheaper. But did you have anything left to say about Devin Achane?
Oh man, no. I guess you just stash him for now. But man, he is a risky start going forward.
Yeah, he is. And because, man, I feel like, too, he's to the point where the Dolphins now are going to have to change course, where they're probably going to give him one more shot in that role that was so electric in weeks 3 to 5. But how could you not treat him as a bit player now, like a true change of pace? Mm-hmm. He was kind of change of pace in weeks 3 to 5. I mean, he was getting near 20 carries. He exceeded 20 carries, I know, in Denver. And how could you not dial back the workload to more like the 8 to 12 touch range?
If that.
Yeah, someone, and then with maybe all things go well, then you unleash him again in the playoffs. But I think the Devin Achane RB1 ship has sailed, especially since bye weeks are finally about to sail out to sea. Calvin Ridley, Denley. I can't. Calvin Ridley, Denny. We have been praying. The film bros have been almost on their knees praying, like, to start moving him around. Please stop making him just run solely on the perimeter. It seems like they kind of did that in week 11 against the Tennessee Titans, and he responded with his first elite game since week 1. Also coincided with Zay Jones's return. There are theories abounding that he can play more of the role he really wants to play when Zay Jones is in the lineup. What is your theory on Calvin Ridley? What does the data say? Was this a turning point or a one-off for Calvin Ridley?
I mean, look, his only 2 good games with Zay Jones, and I posted last week about like this Jacksonville offense cannot function without Zay Jones, and it sounds like a joke, but then a beat writer for the Jaguars agreed and said yes. She just said yes, that's correct. And
wow, it seems talk about unnecessarily elaborate. Like Doug, the whole thing falls apart if Zay Jones can't play, so we gotta keep this guy healthy.
But it's true. It's actually true. The entire franchise depends on whether Zay Jones is in the lineup. And Calvin Ridley. Look, I wish I had something interesting to tell you. I have nothing. He was not used in any different way yesterday against the Titans. No difference. A bunch of low percentage sideline shots. He only ran 12% of his routes from the slot. That's normal for him. So he's still just plastered on the outside, just running go routes. I don't know why it works with Zay Jones, but it does.
I think I saw the former host of the show, Josh Norris, say they were at least having him maybe do slightly different routes. I didn't know his slot percentage was still so low. That's pretty nuts. Like, why? He's so teeny tiny. Give him some slot snaps. Seems like a good idea to me.
I think he would. He's actually really good from the slot. And
he's such a route tactician too. Yeah, like he'd be amazing.
I think he would be dominant from the slot if they actually wanted to do that, but apparently that's not in the cards.
So week 12, by the way, the Jaguars play the Houston Texans. It is a really good matchup for Calvin Ridley. If you want to go quote point chasing, maybe it's with Zay Jones, and I don't know what. There must be clearly some difference in the routes from Zay Jones. There, maybe we're not film watchers, ball knowers enough to know quite what it is, but he seemed more comfortable yesterday, and both these games with Zay Jones. And so maybe we can 48.5 total, early total between Jags and Texans. I, for one, will be point chasing with Calvin Ridley because I was whatever the opposite of point chasing is. I was doing that even before yesterday because I had to keep starting him. I had absolutely no choice. So
I did too. I had to start him in 2 lineups, and hey, it was fun for 1 week.
Yeah, nice to finally get some fantasy points from Calvin Ridley. The Bills got some real points, mostly clean game too. There was one Josh Allen interception that was the first half Hail Mary. But successful first week with Joe Brady replacing, in your opinion, the Ken Dorsey did nothing wrong scapegoat. I didn't agree at all. You can check out old episodes of the show if you want to hear a debate on that. But any interesting takeaways, any new wrinkles from one game with Joe Brady? It's the smallest possible sample size. But did you find anything cool when going through the Week 11 Bills data and snap breakdowns?
I did. I found some stuff, Pat. I wanted to start with the Bills' new offensive slogan / philosophy, as explained by left guard Connor McGovern last week. The philosophy, Pat, is, quote, don't get bored, unquote. Quote, take the shorter throws, running game, play at a good tempo, McGovern said. We stayed true to what we talked about during the week, and it worked. The writer says, translation, the emphasis was taking the small profits in the passing game, grinding away yards in the run game, eliminating turnovers and avoiding penalties. And that's what we saw here.
They went to the football Wikipedia, it sounds like, on how to win a football game.
Yeah. And so in his first game under the new offensive coordinator, Josh Allen's average depth of target was 6.8. That's way under his season-long ADOT of 8.5. Only 9% of his throws went over 20 yards in the air. That's way down from his season-long rate. And they continue to be pretty pass-heavy in the red zone, which is nice. But yeah, this is a team that's going to dink and dunk you to death. And I think that's cool for Kincaid. I mean, really cool for Kincaid. It's bad for Diggs. Bad for Allen, bad for everybody except for Kincaid.
I feel like it could be good for Diggs. He's another guy. How is he not like a total short area dominator?
I don't know, but they're not using him that way.
5 straight games under 100 yards.
By the way, in this don't get bored philosophy, Gabe Davis is Jover. I mean, it's never been more Jover for anyone in sports than it is for Gabe Davis.
The thing is, they tried this in like weeks 2 to 4, where I think Josh Allen was on his best behavior, and they had pretty good success. And then he just got really hella mega bored, as Kyle Dvorak might say. And they went to London, where I think everything kind of fell apart. Yeah, the Jaguars game in London is where it started to fall apart, and not really been reassembled until yesterday. It was only he'd been really, really struggling. Holy Lord, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But I think it could maybe work. He, despite his like sort of like wild man reputation, he's pretty accurate on those throws, and he's the kind of quarterback who has such velocity that even on short passes, he can do what happened yesterday, where he finds Khalil Shakir. He threads a throw to Khalil Shakir, who then had the runway for an 81-yard yak job touchdown. So I don't think it's like all hope is lost necessarily for this offense and the big plays.
No, I mean that was all Shakir.
It was, but kind of quarterback. Not every quarterback can even like thread that kind of needle. I can't remember. Exactly
you're right. You're right about that. I think it's good for James Cook, who saw some more action in the passing game. If they're going to do this check down thing, Cook is still running a decent amount of routes. And I mean, I say all this and I'm down about it, but the Bills are 4th in pass rate over expected, so they are going to throw a lot. So these guys have that going for them. After
James Cook almost had the rug yanked out from underneath them in Week 10, he did return a season high 17 carries against the Jets. Of course, this game was out of hand. The Jets were literally benching their quarterback in the second half, but James Cook has maybe withstood like the best shot from the Bills coaching staff, and like, all right, yeah, we don't have anyone better.
Yeah, he's entered the Devin Singletary zone.
Yes, he has. He survived his Devin Singletary Waterloo. Has come out maybe a stronger RB2. Anything from Justin Fields' first start back? I believe it was his first 100-yard rushing performance of the season. One of his more poised passing performances I've ever seen. He did, of course, commit the game-ending turnover. They were already losing, but they were trying to do the game-winning drive, and it ended the way Bears game-winning drives always do, with some horrible miscue.
Yes.
But he had a really good game up to that point. Anything interesting in the numbers from Justin Fields' return?
I mean, the rushing was there, which we had not seen really consistently. 14 rushes for 104 yards, about 6 yards a rush. He was down. He was tackled inside the 10-yard line, I think twice, or inside the 5-yard line, I should say, twice. And, so that's what matters, for fantasy purposes. Like, that's what we need to see. So if that continues, and the thing is, they've been inconsistent about that, right? And 1 week they're using him as a runner with design rushes, and then the next week they're like, you're dropping back, buddy, and you're throwing 45 passes, and that doesn't work. That's never going to work. Literally never going to be for Justin Fields. So that it was positive, definitely positive, and I hope folks started him. You're going to continue to do that.
Didn't notice much Tyson Bagent talk on the old Bird machine.
Didn't seem to be happening.
The sports talk radio that I never ever listened to ever. It was encouraging. Coming back from 4 or 5 weeks away. I thought this was the kind of coaching staff that was just going to put him back at square one, like just totally forget about the ways he had been having success before he injured his thumb. So I was encouraged by, all right, yeah, we're not doing that again. They admitted more or less how he should be used. So that was good with Justin Fields. Is this Lions defense good? It's starting to seem very bad.
Their secondary is pretty bad.
They do stop the run big time.
Yeah, I will get to that in a moment when we talk about the Thanksgiving game. But yeah, it's gotten worse as the season has gone on.
We're going to talk about the Thanksgiving game right after this, because I think we should just skip the Jets talk. I mean, nothing matters.
Oh, I mean, geez, I feel like people should not be subjected to that.
No, Tim Boyle. People will watch the Jets and understandably think, I don't care who it is, whoever they put in has got to be better than Zach Wilson. Tim Boyle will accept that challenge. He could very easily be worse than Zach Wilson, and has been throughout his career.
I do have one stat, and then we can move on to whatever we're going to talk about next. But Tim Boyle, negative 0.86 adjusted yards per attempt on 14 pass attempts against Buffalo. All right, let's go.
Seems really, really, really good. And Best of luck to the New York Football Jets on what is known as Black Friday. We'll be right back after this. Your final helping of NFL football on Thanksgiving night is a battle of NFC West foes as Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers travel to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Plus, the holiday weekend wraps up on Sunday night in a star-studded matchup when Lamar Jackson and the Ravens face Justin Herbert and the Chargers in Los Angeles. And don't forget, find all your favorite NBC sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. Dan, it's going to be pretty awkward on Thanksgiving Day when your family's like, finally, Dad is off on a weekday. You can actually hang out with the family, and you have to inform them, I know it's Thursday, but I'm waiting all day for Sunday night tonight on NBC when the Seahawks and 49ers kick off.
You're right. And I've told them, do not talk to me before Sunday night because I'm waiting. I'm just going to sit here waiting.
Yes, do not approach Denny until the game, and then of course don't approach him at all once the game.
No, I mean you got to leave the house.
Yeah, you actually do have to leave the house. Go to the mother-in-law's. I don't care where you go, you can't stay here. As I watch Seahawks 49ers and NBC. Seahawks and 49ers is where we will end this preview portion of the show. We will of course begin in Detroit, Michigan, where the Lions, for the first time in forever, are the good team in the Thanksgiving matchup. And TV executives have to be like, finally, there's going to be two good teams in the early Thanksgiving game. The Lions are actually good. And then they send the Green Bay Packers there. But, Denny, we've been talking all year about how bad Jordan Love is, about how bad the Packers are. But they looked okay in Week 11. Back-to-back weeks now, Jordan Love has had the best game of his career. The Packers are kind of hanging around the back end of the playoff race. They're 4-6. Jordan Love, there's so many caveats to what happened for him in Week 11. He never had a 300-yard game until, of course, he faced Brandon Staley, who this is the worst coordinated defense in the entire league. Also, maybe of all time.
Man, some coaches are good at getting mad. Brandon Staley's not good at getting mad.
I know. I feel like he's going to get a reporter to actually fight him. Because a reporter would be really scared. If Dan Campbell or Mike Vrabel did that. When Brandon Staley, the guy for screw it, I'm gonna fight this guy.
And listen, I get it because I'm a guy who, when I get mad, people don't even understand that I'm mad. They're like, wait, what's going on here? And I'm ready to run through a wall, and I don't understand this because you're acting just strange. That's the same with Brandon Staley. Are you Brandon? Are you mad? That press conference was atrocious. I mean, really hard to watch.
It was so uncomfortable. It was one of the classics. I couldn't even get through it. I kept starting it I can't watch this.
It's excruciating. Oh my gosh.
It was excruciating.
Anyway, back to Jordan Love.
Yeah, so Jordan Love coming off the two best starts of his career.
Yeah.
Is he streamer worthy? We mentioned it was a perfect matchup for Week 11 in the Chargers, who just cannot stop anybody. But then, as we mentioned before the break, the Lions have gotten very leaky in their pass defense, especially the back end of their pass defense. They do have Aiden Hutchinson King, an okay pass rush. But can Jordan Love, all 32 teams playing for Week 12, is he in the streamer mix, or is this too much of a reach?
I think so. I always hesitate with this early Thanksgiving game because, honestly, the guys just seem like they're not awake.
No, they're not.
They're not ready to play at noon. Or is it 11 o'clock? Detroit?
It's 11:30 in the Central Time Zone. Detroit is in the Eastern Time Zone. It's one of those cities where if you live on the true Eastern Seaboard, you probably have, no one ever cares on the East Coast. What's like east of New York, who cares what time zone it's in? It's not the East Coast. It doesn't matter to me. Detroit is in the Eastern Time Zone.
All right. Well, I mean, it's just too early for these guys, but I always like when they send a West Coast team. Poor West Coast team.
I know.
Anyway,
I'm surprised the Chargers don't have the indignity of playing.
Oh my gosh, that would be so funny. Oh my gosh. I mean, the Lions are the fourth most extreme pass funnel on the season. They're allowing the sixth highest drop back EPA since week 6. So really being exploited on the back end because I think they're not good in the secondary, but also they're really good at defending the run.
Yes.
And I can tell you one thing, that A.J. Dillon as the lead back is not going to lead to a prosperous run game. In fact, it will be completely the opposite because, man, I saw your post. The Packers can't quit A.J. Dillon. I don't get it. It's one of the most perplexing things in the NFL right now, the fact that the Packers, because I guess Dillon is a system knower, are just committed to this guy every time Aaron Jones is out.
It is absolutely crazy. It's been so crazy. people do, sorry to do hashtag people forget, but people forget Aaron Jones was one of the most effective goal line backs in the entire league before they drafted AJ Dillon, and they just like totally moved away from that for no reason. It is interesting. I feel like they were beginning to dip their toes into moving away from AJ Dillon in week 11 against the Chargers. They've been involving Emmanuel Wilson, someone who I barely know anything about. But like Aaron Jones, he got injured and was carted off. Like Aaron Jones, it was somehow ended up being minor despite looking really bad. It's a shoulder injury for Emmanuel Wilson. But it's just like an impossibly quick turnaround for either of these guys to play. Emmanuel Wilson might get a harness on, might get a pain-killing injection. He might play, but it just seems like all A.J. Dillon for the Packers on Thanksgiving. Like you said, it's just not a good matchup for that. And with the whole field active, despite the supposed workload A.J. Dillon's going to get, I will have a little trouble getting him in the top 24. He'll probably be in like that very low-end RB2 range, but I would keep my expectations very, very in check for A.J. Dillon on Old Turkey Day.
So, yeah, I think that just from a volume standpoint, I could see Jordan Love getting there for, not QB1 purposes, but maybe top 15, something like that.
I didn't prepare you for this one, but anything at all on the Packers receiver core. I watched this game yesterday. Dontavian Wicks continued to pop up for big plays. Romeo Doubs continued to get targeted in the red zone and the end zone, score a touchdown. Christian Watson kept getting one end zone target after another. And finally converted. Jaden Reed, his usage seems capped in the passing game, but they got him carries. He had 3 carries, 46 yards, a 32-yard touchdown. Yeah. It just seems like kind of a stalemate between all these young receivers. Is there anyone breaking away or not really?
Jaden Reed has at least 6 targets in 3 or 4 games, which is pretty good considering he's not running a ton of routes. He's in like the 70% range. Romeo Doubs is just an enemy of the regression files at this point. All the guy does is score touchdowns inside the 10-yard line, and it's really annoying me. So if they could just stop that, that would be great. But that they clearly like see him as the red zone dude. So whatever, I'm not mad about it. Yeah. So I mean, but Doubs and Watson, because of the volume that we'll likely see, are pretty good plays, I think, against Detroit.
That's true. It is. I didn't know the Lions were up to all the way being like the 4th most extreme pass funnel. That's a good stat to know.
And it's also more. It's become more pronounced over the past month.
And it jibes with the eye test. It is also funny too. Sometimes it's an unintended consequence of being so dominant against the run.
Yeah.
Like it's like, well, whatever, I guess. And then people have probably then realized, oh, they actually are very exploitable back here. And we'll keep going back to that. Well,
so it's right. The Niners are about the same sort of pass funnel, but the Niners are usually good. So it's that's the difference.
The Niners make more explosive plays too when you pass on them. Like they'll eventually force like a game-changing fumble or turnover. When the Lions have not been doing that. On the Lions offensive side, I want to ask you about Sam Laporta in just 1 second if there's any concern there. But we'll have to start with the backfield. Gibbs Montgomery, we're going to have 2 games of both of them at full health. Out there running. If they keep scoring touchdowns, both of them, anything pop up in the data from week 11, anything changing here between the young first rounder and the rugged veteran? I don't know.
Yeah, the grizzled veteran.
Yes.
I think you mean to say, well, look, this is a good spot for both of these guys because the Green Bay is an extreme run funnel defense. The Lions were 13% below their expected drop back rate in week 4 against these Packers. Packers are allowing, I'm going to say it, Pat. Packers are allowing the 8th highest yards after contact per rush this season.
Wow.
Okay, so that's all happening. So
can't tackle, it sounds like.
That's what it is. Montgomery leads Gibbs 24-22 in rushing attempts over the past 2 weeks. Lions have the lowest pass rate over expected in the red zone. They are establishing it very, very hard once they get inside the 20. It's such a good matchup that I'm a little nervous about all the pass catchers for the Lions.
Yes, and by the way, the Lions learned a very important lesson from Jared Goff's Rams tape, which is never let this guy throw inside the 20.
Can't do it.
That's probably honestly maybe why they used a first round pick and a running back. Like we need options in the red zone, man. Because one of the options cannot be Jared Goff throwing. He will take a sack or throw a pick. He's throwing a lot of picks. on Sunday.
He was looking real bad.
Jared Goff's been pretty shaky over the past month. I wonder if this whole Lions thing is teetering a little bit. As I say, they'll be 13-2. So I just don't know. Because we were choosing them before the season. Like, I know they're on a 14-game winning streak, Denny, but I haven't really liked what I've seen.
I know they won the NFC title game, but we really don't know about this team yet.
I know they're going for their third straight Super Bowl this weekend, but it's just I haven't seen all I need to see.
If they don't win it, are they good?
I don't know. What I did see is Sam Laporta's usage decreasing at all. By the way, this is another one I didn't tell you I was going to ask you about, but very concerning stat line coming out of week 11. And I think I saw someone say like his routes or snaps or something have been dialed back a bit to pass. Is there anything to that? Are we getting any Sam Laporta concern level?
Right. His routes have taken a little bit of a hit, but mostly, I mean, it's the nature of this Lions offense. I mean, you look at their dropback rate over expected in recent weeks, it's 0, -10, -6, -1.
Wow.
And, so if you have a target magnet hog like Amon-Ra, then that's going to be hard to get by, except for if you score a touchdown. I'm not saying that Laporta is strictly a touchdown-based guy, but look, he's a tight end. This is what happens. This is what happens when you're not Taysom Hill and you're not getting wait, and you're not getting 7 rushing attempts inside the 10 every week.
Danny, I think you forgot how you got "Where Is Your God Now" in week 10 by Taysom Hill when he did absolutely nothing.
No, it was Algier.
Was it Algier where Taysom would have if Algier hadn't first?
It was so much worse. It was Algier.
Someone every week. You're getting "Where Is Your God Now" every week by some fringe player. You only did this to yourself, Denny.
I did.
You didn't need to go so heavy on Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Oh, no. I know. Every time Rico Dowdle doesn't score 20 fantasy
exactly. There you go. Where's your God now? And yourself on Rico Dowdle. And we're going to get to your God right now. The second game of the Thanksgiving triple header. This one's on CBS. First one's on Fox. The final one's on NBC. Commanders arriving in Dallas of a very dispiriting effort where they got sunned by Tommy DeVito. Real bad stuff. Real grim stuff. Just Ron Rivera basically crying, "Fire me," and they're refusing to do so, at least as of the time of this podcast. Early line is the Commanders 10.5-point underdogs. Is this the end of the Sam Howell era of good feelings, or can we keep going back to this riding this horse in fantasy because the pass attempts will never stop, cannot stop?
Oh no. We're riding into the sunset with Sam Howell. Look, Sam Howell's going to drop back, per my calculations, 84 times against the Cowboys.
Yes.
And you know what, Pat? He's going to throw for 250 yards on those 84 attempts.
That's fine.
And 2 touchdowns. And we're going to take it, and we're going to be happy with it. Okay? Right. So there will be no running against the Cowboys this
Literally
week.
None. No.
I mean, and I couldn't be happier about it. But yeah, I think Hal's fine as long as this Eric Bieniemy coached offense continues throwing it. The backfield without Antonio Gibson against the Giants broke down kind of like we expected. 18 carries for Brian Robinson, 6 carries for the rookie Chris Rodriguez, but it was a good 6 carries, 43 yards on those 6 carries. Robinson ran 33 routes to only 8 routes for Rodriguez. Robinson caught 7 of 8 targets, and I foresee a game in which if Gibson is out, I think Robinson is a candidate for double-digit targets here.
And Gibson running into the same problem every injured player for these short week games is this week. It's just such a quick turnaround that Antonio Gibson probably will miss this contest. And Sam Howell, just keep on riding till you clear your name. If you're a Warren Zevon head, you'll know what I'm talking about. Just keep on riding. No.
Yeah. Well, the 6 people who are listening who have heard of Warren Zevon will really appreciate that.
It's true. They will appreciate it. At least 2 of them will tweet at me because we all have the exact same sensibilities. And that includes using X till the bitter end.
Till the bitter end, yes. Real quick, or wait, did you have another question on this game?
No, you keep going on this game. Keep cooking.
All right. Yeah, I'll cook here. Commanders are allowing the 3rd highest dropback EPA over the past month. So Dak Prescott in this passing game is going to cook. Let's just say that. since the trade deadline when Washington got rid of its only 2 good defenders, Washington has the 6th lowest pressure rate. So, I mean, it's going to get ugly.
How are there 5 teams with a worse pressure rate than them since they traded?
Oh, well, the Raiders are one, man. I don't know about this Max Crosby guy because, man, the Raiders are down horrific when it comes to pressuring the quarterback.
Interesting. So, but yeah, this will be hopefully a fun game. The Commanders need to get like an early score or two. If they don't, Sam Howell might break the single game sack record here. Like if they allow the Cowboys to pin their ears back, maybe the Cowboys will be sleepy on the short week. But if the Commanders get down like 14-3 in the first quarter, he's going to take like 11 sacks.
Well, he has been a little better with the sack avoidance of late. That kind of regressed against the Giants a little bit. But I think that the short area guys, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, if he plays, I think those guys will just be peppered here.
Curtis Samuel, by the way, got ejected in the second quarter on something. They kind of flew under the radar. That might have haywired the Commanders' offense a little bit. On the other side of the ball, Dak Prescott, we're hoping will keep throwing. It was kind of an aberration against the Panthers. He also kept throwing against the Panthers. He actually attempted 38 passes. The Panthers are very, very good at limiting big plays, though. The Commanders are not good at limiting big plays. So we're hoping we're going to get that explosive Cowboys passing attack. But what we got in week 11, Denny, was a Tony Pollard touchdown, the first one since week 1. Where's your God now? Rico Dotto had 10 touches for 20 yards. He did absolutely nothing, Denny. Is it still totally Jover for Tony Pollard? Or was there anything beyond scoring that stood out to you from his performance?
I'm happy. Look, I'm happy that Pollard's off the schneid because he is on the magazine cover of my employer. So that's good. And I appreciate the Cowboys making the trip to Carolina specifically to get Tony Pollard 1 touchdown.
Come on. Goodness gracious. The whole week was we got to get Jimmy to cry. Jimmy didn't cry. So now we got to get the touchdown from hell or high water.
Just 1, though.
Yes,
we cannot get
1.
2. Look, Dallas was still, like you mentioned, was still pretty pass heavy, 11% over their expected drop back rate against Carolina. They're one of the pass heaviest teams in the league since returning from their bye week. So they're avoiding Tony Pollard. Rico Dowdle, by the way, over the past 4 games, I just want to say that the underlying metrics are suggesting very strongly that he is their better option. But I think that Dowdle, look, if this game's a blowout, if this game's like nasty, like disgusting, weird sideways game script, Dowdle's going to see some usage. So don't completely poo-poo him.
Well, if he doesn't, I'm going to get up from Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house and text you, where is your God now? When I see Rico Dotto get like tripped up for a 1-yard carry at the 32-yard line or something, and immediately subbed out. I will be hold on. Like my dad's in the middle of a story, like, I got to go do something real quick. And they come in.
You're sweating profusely.
They come in the living room just texting very angrily. Like, well, what are you doing? Texting Denny. Where's this God now, huh? After I finish sending the text, Rico Dottle scores
65 yards.
Yeah. But that will be neither here nor there. That's we'll put a lid on this game. Final game of the day, of course, NBC and Peacock, set 8:20 p.m. Eastern, Thursday evening. Really banged up Seahawks hosting the 49ers. Geno Smith's trying to play through some sort of like triceps injury. He did play through it for a series on Sunday. It seems like he'll go. It does not seem like Ken Walker and his oblique injury will go. Zach Charbonnet, 21 touches in Ken Walker's absence against the Rams. He did not do very much with them, 69 scoreless yards. Zach Charbonnet, am I wrong? It seems like he will truck stick a guy like once or twice a game. It doesn't really do anything other than that. How are we feeling about Zach Charbonnet against the 49ers with Ken Walker likely sitting on the short week?
Yeah, right. I mean, Zach Charbonnet is carrying on the grand Seahawks tradition of running through an MF's face.
Yes,
that's what he's doing. He does not seek daylight. He just
no.
He will break through the line and then run diagonally toward a defender so that he can truck. What did you say? Truck stick him?
Truck stick.
Whatever. I don't know what the Zoomers are saying.
You could say hit stick too, actually.
Yeah. And but he could be a scam though. He caught 6 of 6 targets. The Seahawks will probably be passing a lot because I actually like the Niners to just decimate the Seahawks here.
Really?
Yeah, decimate. It won't.
Well, we need this game to be close.
You should watch it. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun decimation to watch.
Didn't you work for the Comcast Corporation, and yet you don't want the game to be close? Curious.
I'm a fantasy football guy. I watch anyway.
Yeah, it's true. That is 1,000% true.
Okay, we love a blowout. Weird, fun things happen in a blowout. Sure. PFF grades the Niners pass rush as the top pass rush in the league. PFF grades the Seattle pass blocking as the 10th worst in the league. Geno is being pressured in 40% of his dropbacks. I mean, it's going to be nasty for Geno, I think.
I guess the only good news, the 49ers defense kind of banged up again and on a short week, but it is a road trip, but they're just going up the coast. It's not too taxing of a road trip for the 49ers. And I believe the 49ers have just had their number too. That playoff game actually was kind of close for a little bit, but it does seem like a red light game for the Seahawks. It's blinking very concerningly.
The 49ers, when they have all their guys healthy, are really quite.
They're a Death Star. It's pretty unfortunate.
And they are. I mean, when the Dolphins, when it's injuries off, it's the Dolphins versus the Niners in the Super Bowl.
By the way, I realized yesterday that how similar Tua and Brock Purdy are. And I mean that in a good way for Brock Purdy too. And I know you've dabbled a lot into a true thing, and it's not just a Kyle Shanahan thing, but I feel like that Brock Purdy is a pretty good Tua comp, and that this I've learned to accept Brock Purdy's good. It's fine. It's whatever. Maybe it's the system, but someone's got to execute the system, and he's doing it. And I don't know if they're slightly different stylistically. Brock Purdy, maybe is he bigger than Tua? I'm not actually sure, but I realize they are very, very similar, and that's helped me to embrace Brock Purdy a little more and just accept that he is actually good, and that he's not going to magically get bad all of a sudden, and he will continue getting away with it because he's the right man.
It's a sensitive thing, though. It's a sensitive, the Niners. They're like I said, all their guys are healthy. Things are clicking. Like you said, they're a Death Star. As soon as one guy chips a fingernail, it's over.
It is true.
It's just a sensitive thing. And if they get down by 10 points, oh man, it is over. Just call it. Like the refs should just call the game because whatever Shanahan, Purdy, whoever is involved, they can't come back. They cannot play from behind.
I feel like the 49ers do a better job of ensuring that doesn't happen. Instead, they have a more kind of man for all seasons running game than the Dolphins do. I feel like even if Christian McCaffrey got hurt, I have more faith in Kyle Shanahan keeping his running game duct taped and glued together than I do the Dolphins. I do think that's a big difference between, of course, the defensive personnel for the 49ers is a big difference. But yeah, they are unsurprisingly turning out to be very similar operations who identified very similar quarterbacks. We'll end with the 49ers and just Deebo. They got him a touchdown in week 10, but is he starting to just feel like the odd man out to you? Someone's got to be the odd man out with all these elite skill players, and the way they are just pasting people a lot of weeks. You're just not going to get a lot of passing volume. They seem very half-heartedly committed to the Deebo rushing thing. He got only 1 carry in week 11, only 4 targets. He's exceeded 4 targets 0 times, his past 5 appearances. A lot of injuries mixed in there. But is there a Deebo Samuel? I mean, I'm sure people have already been concerned. What is your Deebo Samuel concern level?
He remains really good when he gets the ball, but there, it's a run first offense, and it was this past week against the Bucks, 5% under their expected dropback rate. It's a run first offense where 1 or maybe 2 pass catchers is going to eat, and sometimes you're not it. And most of the time that's Deebo. And that whole rushing thing, we talked about this in the preseason. As long as McCaffrey's in there,
it's
the whole Deebo thing, rushing thing, it is over. And the beat writer said, no, they don't see him as a rusher at all. And so that's a huge chunk off his what used to be a really nice fantasy floor. And then you add the pass catching to that. It used to be a fun little thing. But I don't know what to say about Deebo beyond that. It's very high variance right now.
It is weird that they just Brandon Ayuk's the real receiver now, because Deebo was such a good receiver 2 years ago.
He was, but Ayuk is so good.
Ayuk is.
I know you know that, but I don't watch the games obviously, but the metrics are just in love with Brandon Ayuk.
I was not counting on George Kittle. Where's your God nowing Deebo Samuel, by the way. I thought Kittle was going to be the odd man out, but he's been where's your God nowing Deebo very hard.
he where's your God now me, because I've had him in the regression files in the negative part last week. He can't get away with it, and he got away with it.
And he immediately got away with it. We got away with finishing yet another Rotoworld football show. It was a really good time day. I was feeling kind of loosey-goosey.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird time of year.
It's a weird week. Everything is during the football season, you get so routine oriented in this job, and routines are just shot to high heaven this week. But I really enjoyed the show. Gonna really enjoy the show we do on Tuesday with Kyle Dvorak when we break down all the non-Thursday games on the Week 12 slate. It's a full slate this week, no bye weeks. Byes do for some reason return in Week 13. They should maybe get a non-computer on making this NFL schedule, I feel like. But so we'll be back with Kyle tomorrow. Denny's going to have the regression files. I'm going to have the rankings out a day early this week on Wednesday, so you can make all your lineup decisions before Thursday morning, where, again, the first game's at 11:30 Central Time. I don't speak in Eastern Time. So we're going to have everything out a little early this week. We're going to have you covered. So for Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Keep it locked to rotoworld.com. We will be back later.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Rotoworld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.